Hello and happy Valentine's Day! Happy Love Day! So, in lieu of Love Day, I figured I'd do my favorite romance books. These are just some of my favorite picks. I kind of went through my Goodreads and just whatever popped out at me as like, oh my god, I loved that romance is what I chose. So there are like a ton of romances that I love. Romance is pretty much my genre. Any type, like fantasy, paranormal, Regency, anything I'm here for. I'm here to read. There is a good mix in here of like popular, unpopular. I think I have like an indie or two in here. So we do have a good mix. But yeah, let's get started. So the first one we're gonna mention is an obvious, and I'm just gonna get it out of the way, and that is A Court of Mist and Fury, or the entire ACOTAR trilogy. Technically, it's not in the first one, but it is a little bit in the first one. So, Phazand, of course, I'm gonna go with them. Reese and Feyre are like my life, and I ordered A Court of Silver Flames so that I'd get the Phazand story because I love Oz too, but like Phazand, oh my god, I love them. Reese is literally has set expectations so high at this point that I'm like, I'm never gonna find someone because I need Reese in my life. So that was an obvious one. We're just gonna get it rolling and get past that one. So the next one we have is actually, funnily enough, there are very similar sex scenes in Akamov and this one, and that's Ignite Me by Tahara Mafi. The sex scenes are very, very similar. They're not the same, but they're very similar if you've read, and they're both around the same chapter. In Agamov, it's chapter 55. In Ignite Me, I think it was chapter 53 or 54, something like that. I don't remember what chapter it was, but if you read those two, go back and read those two chapters. They're pretty similar. Anyway, the story of Warner and Juliet. I love them. There's a specific scene that like I always go back to and read just because it's so cute. It's when like Juliet is like pushing the button and Warner runs in. Oh my god, I love that scene. They're so cute, and funnily enough, you can see I have a trope that I love. Enemies to lovers is my favorite thing. We have that in Phazan, we have that in Warner and Juliet. So yeah, and they're so cute and I love them. The next one I have is The Edge of Never by J.A. Redmersky. I don't think I've ever heard anyone on book to talk about this book. It is a little bit older. I read this when I was, I don't remember, 15, 16, I think 16 years old, somewhere around there, like years ago. But I cried the last 100 pages. Like I still remember, because of how badly I was crying. One, I don't cry that often. And two, I had snot running down my face. Like it was a mess. I was like it was just disgusting. Like it was such a cute relationship. We have our characters Andrew and Cameron, and oh my god, this isn't with the trope. This is more like a strangers to friends to lovers, because at the beginning of the book they don't know each other. So, and it's also a road trip book. Oh my god, it's so good. I need to reread it, but also when I know I'm gonna cry in a book, I purposely avoid the book. And now that I know I'm gonna cry in this book, I don't want to read it. Like even though I remember why I was crying, like I remember what the problem was, I already know I'm gonna cry again. So I don't want to reread it because of that. But I loved this relationship. It was done so well, and I pretty much recommend it like whenever I can. I love this book, and I feel like more people should read it. Like I've literally never heard anyone talk about it. I don't know if that's just a booktube thing or if, like overall, but more people need to read it. So the fourth book I have in here is, funnily enough, something else I can compare to Agamov. Something else I also read before Agamov. I read Ignite Me before Agamov. And that is Eyes of Ember by Rebecca Eddington. This is the second book also in a series. It's, I think, a 6 or 7 book series. I only read the first 2 books because I had them at the time, and then I just forgot to buy the rest, and then it's been like way too long now for me to continue on. I read these around the same time as Edge of Never, like years ago. Loved them. in the first book, it's kind of more like Akatar, where she's with, you know, this one guy. In the second book, she's such a summer. And Ilya was such a good guy. Like, she had so much trauma. He was just helping her through it. They were just, oh, he was such a good guy, and you just end up falling for him. And again, it's been like 6-7 years probably since I've read these books, but I still remember loving them. I don't remember like full scenes because of how long it's been, but I remember like little parts of the book. I'm just like, oh my god, they were so cute, and Ilya was so good to her. Like, you start off the book with her still being in love with the first guy, and he just like kind of helps her through it, and he's just always there for her. He's just such a good guy. But yeah, so this is an indie book, so that is one of my indie recommendations. I think that's the only one I have on this list. But I loved it, and you should try it. I hope it still stands up, because again, I was like 15 when I read this, but I think it will. I think it was really well done, and in my head, compared to Agamotto, by the way, I'm not saying it's as good as Agamotto, like, that's a high bar. There are not that many books that I can put up there. Okay, so for the next book, we have Immortal Ring by Morgan Rhodes. This is the 6th and final book in the Fallen Kingdom series. And now that I go back, because I always go back and reread scenes from books 4, 5, and 6. Essentially because Cleo and Magnus are my babies. And I mean, they kind of have a relationship growing throughout the entire series. They get married in the first book. That's not a spoiler, you pretty much know that. But it's very much hate to love. Again, another one where it's hate to love. But like, I go back and reread scenes, and I'm rereading them, like, I still love the story, I still love the characters, but it's not as well written as I believed it to be years ago. I think I read this one 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it came out, basically, is when I read this. And I loved it, and I love Magnus and Cleo. They are my babies. I don't know what to say. I love them. They're so cute. They very much a hate to love. They really did hate each other, but it kind of grew, and they kind of started to care for each other, and I just love when it grows like that, and I love that story, and oh my god, it's so cute. Okay, next up, of course, we couldn't have this video without my girl JLA in it. We have Half-Blood and The Return by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first book to the Covenant series and the first book to the Titan series. Titan series is a spin-off to the Covenant series, so it's technically, you have to read the entire Covenant series to read the Titan series. But I'm putting both of them on the list because I think both of them did relationships so well. The Titan series has no love triangle. The Covenant has a love triangle in book 2. It was so annoying. But then the other guy is like who you follow in the Titan series. Both relationships are done so well. They're just like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, I just fell for them, and I think they're like so in love. But it's kind of like they have their own dichotomy. Like, in the Covenant, it's more of a forbidden romance type of situation, whereas in the Titan, it's more of like a I don't think I deserve you type of situation. And Seth in the Titan series is very much known for not caring about anyone, so it's just so sweet to see him grow there. And then in the Half-Blood series, not Half-Blood, in the Covenant series, you just see Alex and Aiden care for each other so much, and they like pretty much do anything for each other. And then you also see them again in the Titan series, like they do show up again, and they're so good. Like, this is my favorite JLA world, and it's just done so well. Next up, we have some Regency romance. I'm telling you, I'm throwing a little bit of everything in there. We have my girl Tessa Dare. I chose The Governess Game because out of all the books I've read by her, that is my favorite. I have The Wallflower Wager, which is the 3rd book in this Girl Meets Duke series right now, and I'm planning on reading it next week-ish. But I love this series. The Governess Game is done like basically the Girl Meets Duke World, I think is her best series yet. It's also her most recent series, so it just makes sense. She's getting better as she goes. Um, but it's just done so well. Like I love the book before this too, but this one, just something about it really resonated with me, and I was in love with these characters. I was in love with the story. I loved how our main character was, you know, smart, and she really knew what she wanted. She I'm not gonna talk about what happens, obviously, because that's spoilers, but I just remember the scene. That's why I smiled. But I love this story, and pretty much all Tessa there, she pretty much does Regency romance beautifully. But I mean, not just her, like there are other Regency romance authors that do it really well as well. But this was done so well. Actually, honorable mention, the Rogue Not Taken. I'm gonna put the picture up right here. That was so well done. I don't know how I didn't put that on the list. That was so well done. And let me tell you, I love the storyline to that as well. The ending to that one. I'm gonna put both pictures up right now. The Governess Game by Tessa Dare is done, from what I remember, it's been a while since I read it. It's not like, a lot of times in stories, miscommunication is what like really drives the story, and Tessa Dare doesn't do that. Tessa Dare makes sure that there's no miscommunication in her characters, which I really appreciate, because I, as a person, just don't miscommunicate. Like, I will tell you what I'm feeling. So it's so frustrating to have my characters miscommunicating, because I'm just like, oh my god, just talk to each other. But Tessa Dare doesn't do that. Tessa Dare, like, they're always talking to each other. She's not the only one. There are other authors that do it. In this other one, I'm completely blanking on the author's name. There is miscommunication, but it leads to that ending, and I'm just like, oh my god, I love the ending. It was so cute. It was like heartbreaking because like what leads to the ending, but it was so cute. Highly recommend both of these. So the final book I want to mention is Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. This is the third and final book in the Hot and Hammer trilogy. This one is following Bethany, who is the sister to our main character in the first book, and her relationship with Wes Daniels. This is kind of like an age reverse in the sense that like she's older than him, which is usually, you don't see that the girl's older. It's not by a lot, it's like a few years, but she is older than him, and it is brought up a lot. Like, I was gonna say it's a running joke, but it's not really a running joke. But the reason I love this one, this is probably the book I've read most recently out of this entire list. I resonated with our character so much. She has, I think it's OCD. She's basically very compulsive, that she's like always thinking about everything has to be perfect. And I'm not as bad as her. Like, if you read the story, I'm not that bad. But I definitely recognize myself in some of the thoughts that went through her head. So I was just reading this like, oh my god, girl, I can relate. She was just such a good character, and she was so sweet, and Wes just understood her so well. It's just, I think a bigger part of why I really enjoyed this one was because of the fact that I resonated with her. But yeah, highly recommend this entire trilogy. Like, I enjoyed the entire trilogy. Yeah, that's a lie. The second book drove me insane. I did not think that they should have stayed together in the second book. I wanted them to break up so badly. You don't understand. Like, I loved the guy. I hated our main character. But the first book and the third book, highly recommend. By the way, if you can hear that noise in the background, I think it's the trash chute guys, and they're so annoying. I mean, I understand they're doing their job, but oh my god, it's like they waited for me to start filming. So those were some of the picks that I chose out from my Goodreads, just the ones that stuck out to me. But I wanted to throw in some honorable mentions that are not book related. That's a lie, one of them is book related. But I wanted to throw in some honorable mentions, and the one that's book related, but it's just in general, is we got Draco and Hermione. Both of these relationships are relationships that didn't actually happen. The second one kind of happened, but didn't actually happen. But I wanted them to happen so badly. And Hermione, it's how I got into Harry Potter. I grew up not into Harry Potter. I never read the books, watched movies, nothing like that. And then I don't know how. I cannot tell you how. I don't remember. I came across a Hermione and Draco I think what happened is I came across a YouTube, you know, one of those like YouTube videos that they like edit together of like a bunch of scenes to make it look all cute and stuff like that. I think I was just on YouTube one night going to bed and I saw one, and you know, that's how I got it. I don't remember. But essentially I ended up getting into Hermione Draco fanfiction, knowing that in the actual story that they're not together. And then that's how I got into Harry Potter. But like I went to Harry Potter knowing they're not gonna end up together, so I wasn't like disappointed or anything. But yeah, I got into Harry Potter because of Draco and Hermione and because of their fan fiction, and I loved it. And I mean, once in a while, I'll still go back and reread certain ones. I don't start any new ones, and I also don't read the full things. I just kind of like skip through and then like try to find cute parts. But yes, I love them. They are my babies. I still go back to it because I love Hermione and Draco. Again, another enemy. Both of these are actually enemies to lovers. In my head, they actually never ended up real lovers, but like in my head, they're in a relationship. And then we have our second one, which they did have a couple of like cutesy scenes. They had sex, I think just once. They've kissed a couple times, but they were never together, and I'm real salty about it. I actually stopped watching the show because of this, and that is Klaus and Caroline from the Vampire Diaries. Oh my god, when I tell you I'm Coraline trash, love them. But at the end of the fourth season, when all that crap happened, I was like, I'm not watching this anymore. And then it went on to the originals, so it kind of separated. No, I went back in season 5 to watch that one scene they had together because I'm trash. And then I watched the final episode of the original. I didn't watch anything else of the originals, but the final episode, because I wanted to see them together. They are endgame. Like, I don't understand how anyone could ever want them with anyone else. Like, throw Stefan out, throw, what was that chick's name, Camille, out. Like, I don't care. I don't like any of them. I think it was season 3 when all the good fanfiction for Klaus and Caroline started coming out. I love them. There's this one, it's called On the Run by, I'll put who it's by right here because I don't remember. I have been trying to find this fanfiction for years because I want to reread parts of it, and I can't find it anywhere. The author took it offline and it's just gone. She had a couple. One of them I found online and I have it, and it's like fine, but it's not my favorite one. My favorite one is On the Run, and I can't find it anywhere. So you know how frustrating it is to want to reread scenes. Like there are specific scenes. There's this one specific scene that I remember from that story, and I want to reread it so bad. Like I'm gonna cry. I want to reread it so badly, but I can't. I love these characters. I don't look up fanfiction for them anymore because now it's tainted with like Haley and all that. Like I'm just no. But this is like before any of that happened. So yeah, those were my little Valentine's Day favorite romances picks. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I'm not gonna be doing anything. I'm not in a relationship or anything like that. So I'm gonna be at home, probably watching the All the Boys movie 3 actually. But I hope everyone has a beautiful love day, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.